Hi everyone, it's Danny. So here we have it. Finally, my favorite Phalaenopsis is in bloom. This is the beautiful Phalaenopsis tetraspis C1. This is a species orchid, although some might debate that this particular variety might be a natural occurring hybrid or an obtained hybrid. The history is pretty unclear with this orchid, so nobody really knows, but it is indeed a species or a primary hybrid or a natural hybrid. In any way, it is not a complex hybrid. Now, the special thing about the Phalaenopsis tetraspis is that it always blooms different. It can play around with two colors, white and red. And here is what I mean. This particular flower has mostly white petals, but it also has a spot of red on the upper petal. If we look in the back, we can see another flower that has 3 white petals and 2 completely red petals. I have another flower here in the back, hopefully I can show it to you, that has mostly white petals but also a little spot of red on one of the sepals. It can also bloom completely white, like I have 2 flowers here, or completely red. Now, some people say that climate actually dictates how this orchid will bloom, whether it's high temperatures and a lot of light or lower temperatures and a lot of light. Things are pretty debatable, but I think this orchid is just variable, and I'm not really sure if external conditions actually dictate how this orchid blooms. I actually think it only has to do with some genetics. Some tetraspis orchids are prone to bloom white, while others are prone to bloom red or a combination. Now, my particular orchid is a pretty young Phalaenopsis. As you can see, this orchid can have pretty large foliage, but this is the first time it's bloomed. It produced 2 flower spikes, almost from the same place, but they have different lengths. Now, this is a sequential bloomer. This means that a flower spike can continue to bloom for a few years. Even though it might take a break and it might not have blooms, it is not a good idea to cut the flower spikes because they will keep growing and blooming, and at some point this orchid can have a multitude of spikes with a multitude of flowers, so it can become really, really beautiful. Of course, if the flower spike dries, it is safe to cut it because it's not alive anymore. But as long as it's green, don't cut it. Just let it be, even if it doesn't have buds or flowers, because when it's ready, it will bloom again from the same flower spike while it creates another flower spike. So that's a really nice feature. The flowers of this orchid are really not big, and hopefully you can see compared to my hand, they're really tiny. Also, this orchid does not produce quite a lot of blooms on a flower spike like your usual complex hybrids, but this is because it is a species. It's not a genetically engineered hybrid to create a lot of flowers. But the flowers are indeed fragrant. There is a debate on the internet whether this orchid is fragrant or not. My particular one is fragrant, although the smell is quite mild, and I can see why some people might not like it. It's a bit raw. To me, it kind of resembles the mango fruit. And if you know mangoes, you know what I mean. It has that rawness to it. I'm not sure if that's a word, but I do like it personally because I do like mangoes. Anyway, it is not intense. You can only feel it if you actually smell the flowers or you're very close to the flowers. So if you're not a fan of the smell, don't worry, it will not stink up your room. But if you like the smell, it is an added bonus. I personally do like it quite a lot. Now, this Phalaenopsis orchid is actually a warm grower. It does like warm temperatures, and it is not induced by colder temperatures into blooming. I've noticed that mine actually blooms when the weather is nice, when it's sunny, when it's warm. In the winter time, although it started to grow the flower spikes last summer, it did not grow any buds or anything. It just took a break. And once the spring came and temperatures became high again, it started to grow buds and actually bloom pretty fast. So this orchid does not need that cold drop in order to flower, which can be a good thing if you're living in a pretty warm climate or a climate which does not have a harsh winter or a drop in temperature. Other similar Phalaenopsis are the Bellina and Violacea, and they are usually called the summer bloomers. They're quite different from your usual Phalaenopsis, but at some point I will make a video on how to care for the species that bloom in the summertime. They're not trickier, they just need a little bit more moisture, a little bit more light, and a little bit more warm temperatures, and that's pretty much it. They are hardy orchids, but I'll discuss about them in a different video when I'll have more flowers to show you. But for now, let's stick to the tetraspis. Now when you're gonna buy the tetraspis, if you want to buy this orchid, make sure that you buy the Phalaenopsis tetraspis C1. Hopefully you can see here on the label. The Phalaenopsis tetraspis looks a bit different. It does have the same flower shape, it does have the same colors that it plays with, but it does not have this solid red color on the petals. It has some sort of lines, red lines on the petals. If you want this particular variety, make sure that you actually order the C1 variety. You can also find this orchid under the name of Speciosa variety Christiana, but that's not pretty used, I've noticed. Just look for the tetraspis C1 in particular. Now another thing that I've noticed with this orchid is the beautiful fuzzy lip, and I'll try to give you a close-up. It has quite tiny and beautiful hairs, and it also has a pink violet color as well. So indeed, it is a very, very pretty flower if you look at it. And imagine this orchid being more mature than this, because this is a young plant which has bloomed for the first time. Imagine a mature orchid full of these beautiful flowers. I think it's a really, really great show, even though the flowers are not big. As you can see, they're just so dainty and pretty that it's just hard not to want this orchid. I personally do like it, even if it's a Phalaenopsis. It's actually my favorite Phalaenopsis orchid. Now the flowers on this orchid should last for at least a month or two. I'm not sure if it has the same longevity as the hybrids, because the hybrids were created to last more than the species. But in any case, it is just such a special orchid that if you are an orchid lover, and especially a Phalaenopsis orchid lover, you should definitely have this little orchid in your growing space. Now I'll try to give you another close-up of this flower. It's too bad that this particular flower, which has the most red, is kind of in the back here, but I hope I will have more red flowers as I go. I'm not sure if this orchid will bloom anymore this summer, but I do believe this is a good flower count for its first blooming. And yeah, I just love this orchid. I'm really happy I got it. I actually have it for 1.5 years, but it was pretty much a seedling, and it grew and it bloomed, and I'm happy about it. Before I let you go, I just want to tell you that my sister-in-law, aka Hooked on Sharing, just posted a recipe for my favorite dessert as a kid, and this is creme brulee. So I'll add a link somewhere here in an annotation and also in the description below. If you want to learn how to make creme brulee, it's actually pretty easy. Just check her video out, and it's just gonna be an amazing dessert. It's my favorite dessert. So alrighty guys, thank you for watching. If you want to see more videos from me, don't forget to subscribe. You can leave me questions and suggestions in the comment section below, and also you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and you have all the links below. I'll see you next time. Bye!